Hey there everybody, it's Thorpian, and with Hypixel's latest garden update, it's become a lot harder to figure out exactly what to do in terms of farming fortune at which stage. Like, what do I do when I start? How do I get more farming fortune? How do I max out my farming fortune? Can I pay 700 mil and just do this whole grind for free? Well, today we're going to talk about all of the different ways to increase your farming fortune. I'm going to start from literally the beginning and go until you're paying like 5 mil per extra farming fortune. So to start off with, let's go with what I call the basic tier. So this is you're just starting the game, you literally have nothing, and you're gonna want to get into farming. The first thing you're gonna want to do is to talk to Elizabeth. Elizabeth allows you to do account and profile upgrades, and you're going to want to increase your farming fortune upgrade. Now, this is going to take quite a bit of time, like many weeks, in order to upgrade, so you want to get this started as soon as you can. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, get a little bit of extra farming fortune. The next thing you're going to want to do is to visit PRTL or anybody else with cakes. And you're going to want to eat some of the brown cake. The brown cake is going to give you 5 farming fortune for 48 hours. You're going to want to eat this cake every 48 hours. While you're here, you might as well eat all the other cakes because, well, why not? Plus, you have a small chance of getting a cake soul every time you eat a cake, which you can then sell. So definitely do this every 48 hours for some bonus stats and bonus farming fortune. Okay, so now we've got our basics things that you need no requirements for. And now we're going to talk about the first things you should do. First thing you should do is you should talk to the farm merchant. You should buy a rookie hoe if you can, but honestly, you don't even really need it. You just want to break wheat in the spawn. You're going to break the wheat in the spawn until you hit the collection required to make the farm suit. So the farm suit is going to cost you just hay bales to make. It's going to be worth about 1,300 in wheat, which is basically nothing, and it's going to give you 20 farming fortune. So your first thing that you're going to make is going to be this farm suit, and it's going to give you 20 farming fortune. You are also going to get farming fortune for every farming level you get, which you'll get by breaking wheat in the hub. I'll talk a little more about farming fortune from levels and how to level up as fast as possible later. The next thing you're going to want to do is you are going to want to get a hoe of any kind. Honestly, it doesn't matter. It can be a diamond hoe, it can be the rookie hoe, it can be one of the advanced special gardening hoes. Really doesn't matter what kind you get, but you are going to put an enchantment on it, and that enchantment is going to be harvesting 5. So harvesting 5 is actually super cheap to make. Literally costs you 336 coins, and it's going to cost you 48 paper and 16 wheat to make. And you're going to need to have wheat 2, which is like, I don't know, 100 wheat or something. So you're going to make this, and you're going to put it on a hoe as soon as you can, as soon as you hit wheat 2. You can always buy this rookie hoe if you want. You can also buy sugarcane here and turn it into paper to do this as easily as possible. And you're going to continue to farm wheat in the hub for farming levels, for wheat collection, for seeds too, or you can just sell everything. It doesn't really matter until you unlock the farm armor. But farm armor is going to require farming skill 10. It's going to require wheat collection 9, which could actually take you a while. So you may not want to wait this long before you get started with the garden. And I'll talk about that in a minute. This is going to give you an additional 20 farming fortune over the farm suit. Super cheap to make, costs about 200k total. You can also farm all the wheat yourself by the time you hit wheat 9 or very close to it. At this point, we're going to diverge from Ironman. Unfortunately, Ironman, you can actually get all of these things. They'll just take you longer, especially because of cows and stuff like that. Anyway, we're going to talk about agronomy sacks. So you cannot buy these. You have to make them yourself, but you can buy the materials for them. So you need wheat 7 for the small agronomy sack. You're going to need wheat 8 for the medium agronomy sack, and wheat collection 10, which can actually take you a little while for the large agronomy sack. You're going to want to get these as soon as you can, but you may not be able to get them until you've started the garden and gotten a little bit into that. Just because you have to break a lot of wheat, and not everybody has patience to sit here, and honestly, I wouldn't farm wheat this long in the hub. I would go ahead and go to the garden. The other thing that you're going to buy at your basic early tier is going to be the epic rabbit pet. So you can actually get epic or above, I guess. It doesn't really matter, but you're going to want to get this guy for a farming wisdom boost. And he's going to cost you about 350k, give or take, and give you 0.3 to 30 farming wisdom. Finally, in your starter tier of items, you're going to want to get a personal compactor as soon as you can. You're going to start with the 4000, obviously. This is going to cost you about 700 to 800k. You don't need this necessarily, but it will make your life a lot easier while farming, and you can buy it off of the auction house. So I would highly recommend getting it if you can afford it. That's the end of our super cheap items. After relatively cheap items, I should say, that grant farming fortune or just that are absolutely necessary for farming. Once you hit Skyblock level 5 and the appropriate farming level, you're going to want to go to the garden. There are plenty of YouTube guides on how to start the garden, how the garden works. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to talk about what to do here first. So the first things that you're going to want to do is to unlock the garden, unlock the one plot that you start with, and start to unlock more plots. You can do multiple, shoot for plots that are in a row. So like this, 5 in a row is the ideal way to do this. You only technically need like 1 or 2, so don't worry if you can't get more than that. As soon as you can, you should buy a Night Saver. It's super cheap on the auction house, about 20k. It requires Nether Quartz 2 collection, so Ironman, it's going to be a little tougher for you to get, but you can set it to evening and that'll make it always daytime on the garden, which means your crops will always be growing. You can also make one of your plots sugarcane as soon as you can and harvest it at night to save time. So you're going to be on the garden and you're going to work on getting your crop milestones. So that's going to be here, garden milestones, crop milestones. You're going to work on getting each of these to about 9 or 10. It's actually going to be incredibly easy to do, and that will allow you to level up your garden. You should be able to level up your garden to about level 9 or 10 very easily, in my opinion. Just from the crop milestones. If you can't get it to 10, get it to 9 to unlock mushrooms. You'll also unlock some crop upgrades, which will give you farming fortune in exchange for copper. The other big tip I have is don't bother with Jacob's contests until you have at least 2 plots of 1 crop. So if 2 plots, full plots with 1 crop planted, even if it's the presets, should be able to get you bronze with the 112 farming fortune that you'll have from the farming armor, harvesting level 5, and whatever farming level you have at that point. So now we're going to talk about upgrades that are available that are going to cost a little bit more. But before we get into those higher tiers of farming fortune and what to do, I just want to ask you guys, please subscribe. If you look currently, almost all my views are from non-subscribers, so it'd be really helpful to me and to other people trying to find guides like this if you were to subscribe so that YouTube knows that it should recommend it to people. Thanks. So the rabbit armor is actually pretty cheap to craft, but you need level 9, unfortunately, to craft it. So you're gonna want to buy this. You need rabbit collection level 9. So you're gonna wanna buy this. It's kind of expensive, so if you can afford it, go for it. If not, honestly, you can stick with farm armor until melon. The difference is 30 farming fortune, but the reality is that XP is more important than farming fortune right now because those levels are going to make a huge difference to your farming fortune and are really going to allow you to unlock better armor and gear. Garden plots, as of the new upgrade, will also increase your farming fortune. So if you go to your plots, you'll see that every plot you unlock is going to give you 3 farming fortune. Now this gets really, really expensive after the first few compared to literally any other source of farming fortune. So I would highly, highly recommend saving that and just getting the plots you need to make the farms that you want. To build farms, the easiest way that I found is to go to Anita and buy the infinite dirt one, which will cost you 1 Jacob's ticket. Very easy. You can also buy the prisma pump, which will cost you a bronze medal and 2 Jacob's tickets, and some of these tilling hoes and other items that she has that makes things easier, but you need more medals for that, so that might not be a great way to start. You do, however, want to buy the builder's ruler. Costs 20 copper, allows you to build a line of blocks, makes it very easy to build large farms, and it's super duper cheap. So you've unlocked the garden, you've got a couple plots going, you've gotten to garden level 9. You have some farming fortune, probably around 200, give or take. You've got a rabbit pet, and you're working on leveling up farming. So what do you farm? I recommend farming mushroom to start because XP is going to give you a larger gain than money. So if you're farming something for money, you're not going to get as much of a increase in farming fortune as you will with getting XP. So now I'm going to talk to you about how to maximize your farming XP. The first thing you're going to want to do is to go on the auction house and buy a God potion. So this is going to cost about 900k. It's going to last about 12 hours plus whatever levels you get from your alchemy level. Notice that this will only tick down while you are online. So this is 12 hours of active playtime. Very cheap for that, and you get 20 farming wisdom from it. Next up, we've got our booster cookie. Booster cookie is expensive as crap. I am not going to lie to you guys. You do get a free one, I think, to start, but it's like 6 mil each. It gives you 25 farming wisdom, though, which is awesome. It also gives you a ton of other bonuses, which are nice. And the bits that you get from this will allow you to get about a 50% refund if you sell the items that you can buy with bits. So plus minus if you want it early. If you have the money, absolutely get it. It's worth it. And you're going to farm mushrooms. So that's because mushrooms give the most XP. You can do this with any tool. I'd recommend using that starter hoe that you put harvesting 5 on. And you're just going to do this until you hit farming level 25. Yes, I know, it's a long time. Mushrooms might get annoying. Feel free to switch it up with other crops, but the fastest way to get more farming fortune is going to be to hit farming level 25. Let's talk about the items you should get in the order you should get them. So now you're starting to get into this mid-tier level. It's not starter items. It's not super cheap. It's actually getting a little bit more and more expensive, but you should be making decent money from farming, or at least okay money. Maybe not amazing, a few mil an hour. At this point, you can try Jacob's contests if you want, if you have at least 2 plots full of one crop. But don't expect to win, and don't even expect to always get bronze. But if you can get bronze, you should definitely go for it. So what equipment do you want to buy now that you've hit farming level 25 or on your way to farming level 25? First thing I would buy is I would buy the Lotus bracelet and the Lotus belt. These will each give you 5 farming fortune. They're pretty cheap in terms of copper. It'll be about 1 mil for both, and that's 1 mil for 10 farming fortune, 100k each. Super nice. You're also going to want to buy 2 flowering bouquets, which is a reforged stone on the bazaar. They're going to cost you in the realm of 30 to 40k plus another 20k to apply, and they're going to give you 3 farming fortune. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it's a nice little upgrade to your equipment. I wouldn't buy the other 2 pieces yet because they're more expensive and there are better things to buy first. Speaking of better things to buy first, the next thing you should buy is the mushroom pet. Now you want to get an epic mushroom pet. It's going to cost you 4 mil, so it's going to cost you a pretty good bit, and it's going to come not high level. It's going to give you 11 to 110 farming fortune, and then plus it'll give you a 2 to 100% chance of dropping a mushroom. So that means that it'll give you 13 to 210 farming fortune, but 2 to 100 of that farming fortune is mushroom locked. That means it's great for money, not great for contests. As soon as you can afford it, you should also give your mushroom a farming XP item. The XP boosts are a little expensive at the moment, so you might want to wait. You can definitely give it this 30% boost for 10k, super cheap. You can give it the 40% for 600k, also reasonably priced. You can also buy this for 500k from the NPC. 50%, 1.5 mil. I don't know if I would necessarily get that one. Maybe later on. Okay, so you've hit farming level 25. And at this point, you want to get rabbit armor if you really don't have money. But I would recommend actually saving up in order to buy melon armor. So the melon helmet, chestplate, and leggings and boots will cost you about 6 to 7 mil total, and they'll actually get you about 100 farming fortune. So that Keep in mind that is actually about 60 farming fortune more than your previous set, or 30 farming fortune more if you had the rabbit set. It's very expensive compared to the rabbit, but it will probably almost definitely pay for itself in crappies, which is something you can get from the melon armor by level 30. It's also cheaper to buy these pieces and upgrade them to crappie armor than it is to buy crappie armor outright for your next step. Just FYI. All right, so the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to buy an advanced tool. So there are these hoes that you can buy from Anita indirectly. So you get a mathematical hoe blueprint, and then you can upgrade it. But this costs a gold medal, so that's kind of hard to get. So I wouldn't necessarily do that. So you gold medal and 32 Jacob's tickets, and you can get these specialty farming tools. What I would do is I would go to the auction house, because these are now all tradable on the auction house, and I would buy either a potato or a carrot hoe. So you're going to buy your tier 1 potato or carrot hoe. So the Pythagorean potato hoe, which is going to give you 10 farming fortune, 1 farming wisdom, which sounds really bad for 3 or 4 mil, but it's upgradable. And I'm going to tell you that you should upgrade this to tier 2 as soon as you're able, which will give you 16 farming fortune for digits on your counter, -4 of course. It'll upgrade when you have more counter, so when you've harvested more potatoes with it. It'll require farming level 20, so just keep that in mind, and it'll cost you about 6 to 7 to 8 mil to upgrade it. So this is going to take a while, and this is very expensive, so that's why I only recommend you get one. And I would pick either potato or carrot. They're both about the same. It doesn't really matter for money. Then what you're going to do is you're going to enchant that hoe, and you're going to enchant it with the following things. You're going to enchant it with harvesting level 5. So if you remember, we talked about harvesting before. So you're going to put harvesting level 5, which is going to give you 62.5. You're going to need to put replenish on it before you use it. So that's going to cost you about 1 mil, but it's definitely worth it because it'll automatically replant. And then you're going to want to put on the turbo crop for the crop in question. So turbo potato if you're doing potato, turbo carrot if you're doing carrot. Keep in mind that you need bronze for farming level for turbo level 4 and silver for turbo level 5 to work. So don't upgrade to those until you have bronze or silver. You can also consider adding cultivating. Cultivating is an enchantment that you can buy with bits for 4,000, but really you should buy it for money because it's cheaper, and it'll give you 1 farming wisdom and 1 farming fortune per tier, and it'll level up as you harvest crops. You can probably get to about tier 6 or 7 quite easily. So you'll get about 6 farming fortune and 6 farming wisdom pretty soon, but it's going to cost you about 3 mil, so if you have money, go for it. If you don't, maybe wait. You should also consider dedication level 1. Dedication will give you farming fortune for crops multiplied by your garden milestones. So if you guys remember, we were looking at the desk earlier, we looked at our crop milestones. So you multiply whatever your dedication amount is by this garden milestone. So for example, at dedication 1 and milestone level 10, you will get 0.5 times 10, so 5 farming fortune. So you get a total of 5 farming fortune. So it's pretty nice. It costs about 2 mil for level 1. So plus minus if you want to get it. If you can afford it, just go ahead and get dedication level 3. I mean, whatever. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add the Blessed Reforged to your tool. And that's going to cost you about 1 mil. And it's going to give you about 9 farming fortune if it's rare, and about 7 farming fortune if it's uncommon. So that's pretty good for 1 mil. I'd highly recommend getting that as soon as you can afford it. So now you have an advanced tool that's tier 2. You've got replenish, you've got turbo carrot, you've got harvesting 5, maybe cultivating, maybe dedication. You've definitely got a blessed reforge. What are you going to buy next? So next, you're going to want to buy the yellow bandana. Yellow bandana is another Skymart item. This is going to give you 30 farming fortune on your pet. So you're going to give this item to your pet. Now notice, this will have to be instead of the farming XP item. So it's up to you if you want to do that. You get more money with this, but less XP for your pet. And honestly, I probably wouldn't do this yet just because that XP is going to make a bigger difference early on. Maybe once your pet hits level 100 or maybe a little earlier depending on what you want to do. But I would highly recommend that you at least wait until your pet is level 70 because that XP boost is going to make a bigger difference to start. So now that we have a yellow bandana and a level 70 pet, plus minus, and maybe you don't have the yellow bandana yet because your pet's not level 70. Next, you're going to buy the Lotus Necklace. Lotus Necklace is going to cost you about 1.4, 1.5 mil. It's going to give you 5 farming fortune, but that will upgrade as you complete visitor offers. So keep that in mind. And like before, you're going to get the flowering bouquet on the Lotus. That'll give you another 3 farming fortune, costing you about 80k. Very cheap for that. Next up, we're going to get the bustling reforge on our armor. So you're going to have your full melon armor, and you're going to put the 4 of these stones on them. Each stone is going to cost you 700k, and each stone will give you 4 farming fortune. Sorry. It'll give you 2 farming fortune on the melon armor that will upgrade as you upgrade your armor. So that's kind of nice that you don't have to pay for this again, and you'll get some extra farming fortune when you upgrade your armor. That being said, it will cost you about 3 mil total for about 8 farming fortune on your melon armor. And then finally, next after that, you're going to buy the Lotus Cloak. That's going to cost you 4 mil, 5 farming fortune, and you're going to add the flowering bouquet reforge on it as well, again, for that extra boost. So at this point, you've got a full set of armor, you've got all of your full set of equipment, you've got everything reforged to a basic reforge. Next, you're going to buy Rancher boots. Now, I know you're going to ask me, hey, Thorpian, wait a second. I just bought this melon armor. Why are you making me buy Rancher boots? Well, Rancher boots allow you to set your speed for maximally efficient farming. In addition, these boots will give you +1 farming fortune on the garden for every level. So if you're level 25, you'll actually get about the same boost off of these as you would from your melon boots plus the tier bonus that you get. So highly recommend these Rancher boots. They do cost 4 mil, but they will give you about equivalent farming fortune to what you already have. But more importantly, it'll allow you to set your speed for maximally efficient farming. Now, there are a few ways around this. You can like toggle potion effects on and off and like try to reforge stuff with speed and all that kind of stuff. But I would recommend just buying these at this point. All right. So at this point, you're level 25-ish. You've got your melon armor, 3 pieces. You got your Rancher boots. You've got all of your equipment. Now we're entering into the advanced tier. So this is going to be your next tier of farming. At this point, you're going to want to get to farming level 30. At farming level 30, you are going to upgrade to Crappie armor. It is cheaper to upgrade your melon, and if you're following this guide so far, you only need to upgrade your helmet, your chestplate, and your leggings to Crappie armor at level 30. This will allow you to drop squashes from pumpkins, melons, and cocoa beans. Now this is really good because squashes are currently worth a lot, and it looks like their price isn't going down. They're staying at around 250. I think it's because of the composter upgrades that require them, as well as the armor that requires it. So definitely upgrade to Crappie armor. It's going to cost you about 18 mil, going to give you 35 farming fortune. And at this point, you're going to want to switch to cocoa farming. So that's because, you know, you can get the squashes, and cocoa farming is actually pretty good money. In order to switch to cocoa farming, you're going to need to buy a new tool, the Cocoa Chopper, which is going to increase your cocoa bean drops by 20%, except that's a lie. It actually just gives you 20 farming fortune when harvesting cocoa beans. And on this, you're going to want to put Sunder 5, Replenish again, Turbo Cocoa, either level 3, 4, or 5, 4 if you have bronze, 5 if you have gotten the silver. You're going to want Cultivating, you're going to want Dedication 1 or 3 if you can afford it, and you're going to want the Blessed Reforge. If you've got a lot of money, you can go ahead and add a Recom to this, but I probably wouldn't do this yet. There's also an item called the Lantern Helmet. The lantern helmet is going to give you 1 farming fortune for every farming level if you're holding an axe, like the cocoa chopper. It's very cheap, which is nice. However, you get less squash, which means you will get less money. So if you want a cheap way to get into cocoa before paying for a full crappie set and just have 2 pieces of that and then use the lantern helmet and then do the crappie helmet, that's what I would do. I wouldn't use this instead of the crappie helmet if you can afford it. So now that you've got the crappie set, now that you've got the cocoa chopper, next thing you're going to want to do is to get the legendary elephant pet. So the legendary elephant pet is going to give you more farming fortune, and it's going to allow you to do contests. And now you should be able to get silver in any contest you have a tool for. So at this point, that's going to be either potato or carrot or cocoa. You can also start to upgrade metals, which is something that I haven't told you about yet. So you can actually upgrade metals with Anita. So if you get 2 bronze, you can get 1 silver. And if you get 4 silver, you can get 1 gold, which will allow you to buy additional tools from Anita, either to sell for money to upgrade your equipment, or you can use this to get additional farming tools, which you can upgrade, as I mentioned before. And this will allow you to get more silver medals in more crops, which will mean that more of the Jacob's contests you'll be able to get medals for. Finally, your last upgrade that you're going to do for this kind of set of farming upgrades is Harvesting 6. So Harvesting 6 is available from the bazaar, and it's going to cost you 6 mil and give you 12.5 farming fortune. Now that doesn't sound great, and trust me, I know, but that's kind of how expensive it starts to get at this point. So now you're approaching the part where it gets really expensive other than levels. Remember that XP is going to be king for value because it's free and you get farming fortune for every farming level you get farming fortune for every milestone you get if you have dedication. So definitely work on XP and farming. I would also skip upgrading to squash armor. Squash is worth as much as Fermento, and you'll get more of them than you would Fermento. Also, you will miss out on some farming fortune, but in reality, I think those squashes are worth more, so you should stick with them until you can afford Fermento. Then once you hit level 40, and you have about 100 mil or so, maybe 120 mil, you should upgrade to Fermento. Remember, you're only going to upgrade, you use 3 pieces, because you have your rancher's boots. Next up, you're going to probably want to get a green bandana. What is the green bandana? Oh, I'm glad you asked. The green bandana is another pet item that's going to grant 4 farming fortune for every garden level you have. So if you're garden level 10, this is going to give you 40 farming fortune or 10 farming fortune more than your yellow bandana. It costs about 23 mil at the moment, so it's worth it if you're garden level 10 or higher. I would probably put it on your elephant first to help you with those contests. At this point, once you have the Fermento set, I would probably switch to Nether Wart for max money. You can also continue to do Cocoa because they're very similar at the moment. So you're going to want to get a Nether Wart hoe at this point, or the Cocoa Chopper that you had before. And you're going to want to start to upgrade your tools. So you're going to want to max out your tools. So you're going to increase your counters or buy tools with higher counters. You're going to want to upgrade the tier of these tools, which is going to cost you a pretty penny. Not all tools are worth upgrading, so I wouldn't go ahead and upgrade every single tool you have unless you can't get a gold medal. So I recommend you'd upgrade your Nether Wart, your Cocoa, and then potato or carrot, whichever one you're starting out with. Cheap tools to upgrade are also going to be your fungi cutter, your cactus cutter, your melon dicer, and your pumpkin dicer. Notice that the pumpkin dicer and melon dicer, the 3.0, the 2.0 and 3.0 versions don't actually give more farming fortune or more items. They just give more farming wisdom. So I wouldn't even upgrade them all the way there. I would rather recombobulate them. So at this point, we're going to get into very expensive upgrades. And the first one is going to be the Fermento artifact. So the Fermento artifact is going to cost you about 60 mil, but give you 30 farming fortune whenever you break any crops. So 2 mil per fortune is pretty darn good. You can get the squash ring first if you're doing cocoa beans. You can get the crappie talisman first if you're doing carrots and potatoes. But keep in mind that these are crop limited. So if you're not doing the crops, you won't get the farming fortune. The squash ring is also massively expensive. Crappie talisman is pretty cheap, but again, crop limited. I recommend going straight for the fermento artifact. Next, you're going to want to get burrowing spores on your equipment. Burrowing spores is going to be a reforged stone. It's going to cost about 12 to 13 mil right now, and it's going to give you 5 farming fortune more on your equipment than your current gear, or than the current reforge that you've gotten if you're following this guide, that flowering bouquet. At this point, this becomes worth it. You're going to want to get farming for dummies on your tools. This is something that's available in the bazaar. So if you go to oddities, book modifiers, farming for dummies, these are going to keep going up in price. At the moment, they're about 3 to 4 mil, depending on if you can order them or you have to buy them direct. It only gives you 1 farming fortune per. You can apply it to a hoe or axe 5 times. So it's okay. If you can get it cheaper, it's more worth it. If you can get it more expensive, you might want to wait a little bit. Next, you're going to want to recombobulate your tool first, because this is going to give you the best upgrade. And the reason for this is that if you have the Blessed Reforge, this is going to give you 3 or 4 farming fortune, and it's going to cost you about 9 mil. Next up, you're going to want to get Green Thumb 2. Green Thumb is another new enchantment. It's going to give you 0.05 farming fortune per unique visitor served. There are about 75 visitors. I think it's technically 78, but some of them are a little hard to find or get. So about 75 visitors. So each level of Green Thumb will give you about 3.7-ish farming fortune. So level 1 and level 2 stack kind of directly. So level 2 will cost you 22 mil, and it'll give you 7.2 farming fortune. After this, the value starts to go down. So level 2 Green Thumb on all of your equipment for 22 mil per, and 7.2-ish farming fortune per equipment. Next, you're going to want to recombobulate your armor and your equipment. So that's going to be all your fermento and rancher boots and your equipment, and that's going to give you 2 farming fortune on every one of these pieces of equipment and armor with the reforges you currently have. So that's pretty decent. Next up, you're going to want to get really expensive. So at this point, this is like top tier farming costs. The Mossy Reforge. This stone currently costs like 75 to 80 mil because it's only available from visitors. And on that legendary, or actually now mythic armor, this is for armor, it's going to give you an additional 22 farming fortune, which is insane. But again, this is insanely expensive. So you're going to get 22 farming fortune per fermento piece and 17 farming fortune on your rancher's boots because they're 1 tier lower. Now, you're also going to want to continue to buy max farming levels at Anita. If you have already hit 50, you're going to need to get all of the unique golds for this. So all 10 crops, you're going to need a unique gold medal. So you can work on that as well. You're going to want to get extra farming drops. Now, this is also great up to level 30, but it's going to cost a total of 66 gold medals and 180 million tickets. So you can work on it, but I wouldn't necessarily do it all right away. Next, you're going to want to get Dedication 4. So Dedication 4 is super expensive. You cannot get it by upgrading. So you actually need to get it from the librarian only. So it's very rare, and that's why it's currently worth 80 mil, or sorry, it's now 90 mil. It's now worth 90 mil. Now this will give you an additional 1 farming fortune per garden milestone for the crop for the tool that you put it on. So at milestone level 20, you'll get 20 farming fortune. So that's not actually terrible for 90 mil based on the current, like where we're at in terms of getting things. Finally, the last thing that you're going to want to upgrade is going to be Green Thumb, because it's just crazy expensive. I mean, 11 mil per level is nuts. At level 5, you'll get 11.5 more farming fortune and it'll cost you 154 mil per farming piece. So you can upgrade this in pieces. You can get it to Green Thumb 3, Green Thumb 4, Green Thumb 5, obviously, but it's going to cost you a poop ton of money and not really get you a ton of farming fortune. But at this point, we're talking about the hyper max level. So at the end of the day, what is the hyper max farming fortune you can get? 1429.5 with axes, 1586 with the tiered hose, and that's with one bill counter. So these are like crazy numbers. For reference, when I hold my Neverwort hoe, when I take out my elephant pet with currently a yellow bandana, I have about 921 farming fortune. And for most crops, I can get gold medals. I currently can't get them for cactus, netherwort, and netherwort. So with this setup, tier 3 hose, you'll be able to get most golds. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you now are able to know where to get all of the farming fortune in Skyblock and what to upgrade first, second, third, all the way up to step 45 if you're following this guide. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel. Have a great day. Bye!